Hey, this is Mortgage Barrio. So I want to show you an illustration with a 2-1 rate buy down, 1-0 rate buy down, 1-1 buy down, etc. Kind of explain what all this means. The loan amount and the interest rate is going to determine the mechanical aspects of the buy down. So let's just use a 225 purchase price as an example. And the more you put down, the less the buy down. But if you're kind of putting the minimum down, maybe say you're putting about 3% down, then oops, I put that at the loan amount. So let's do 225 as the purchase price. Let's say that this is a conventional deal, so we're not going to have MIP or anything like that. And we're going to do a loan amount of 218,250. Now put us at 97% LTV. I'm just going to make up an interest rate for educational purposes and illustrational purposes. We'll say 6.5. And that will kind of show us the principal and interest, which is what we're really concerned about. The taxes, insurance, there's nothing you can really do about that. But as far as the principal and interest, that's what we're really temporary buying down. And so just take note that this is a temporary buy down. This isn't a permanent buy down. So there's something called a permanent buy down with discount points, which is different, where that rate will stay. There's pros and cons to that. And the pro is the rate's bought down permanently. The con is it's a lot more apples to apples. It is way more costly to do a permanent discount buy down versus a temporary rate buy down. And the reason why the temporary is more popular is because you don't want to spend too much money on closing costs to buy down a rate when we may be able to lock in on a lower rate on a refinance down the road for much cheaper. So kind of comes down to mathematical sense, where you may not want to spend so much money, you might not be able to recuperate those discount points by the time you actually refinance. So the longer you hold on that monthly payment with a permanent buy down, it's a good rule of thumb that may be worth doing a permanent buy down. Kind of just depends on various factors. But basically, we'll look at the 2-1 because that just seems to be the sexiest thing. I would only recommend with seller pay concessions. It really doesn't make any sense when you actually start doing lender pay. That's LOPA. It usually costs a little bit more to do that. Definitely would just kind of stick with the seller paying for that, just so it doesn't cost the buyer anything. And essentially the mechanics behind this, so you haven't, once you kind of grasp this, like the understanding behind this, let's say the note rate is 1379 in year one. Look at the 2-1 buy down. You're buying it down $1,105.84. Your monthly savings $273.65. So they're taking what the payment's going to be at a 4.5% rate, and then they're subtracting that principal and interest by the note rate of 1379 monthly payment. That gives you a monthly savings of 273.65. Now there's 12 payments in a year, so they're going to multiply that by 12. That's the mechanics behind it. They're just taking the monthly difference between the note rate and what that buy down payment would be. They're multiplying that by 12 to make that entire year. And the same thing. So in year two, the note rate is it's a 1% buy down temporary. So now we're in year 29. 29 years left on the term. And that's bought down to 5.5%. Monthly differential there from the note rate to the buy down is $140.29. You multiply that by 12, it's $1,683 is the difference. If you're doing a 2% the first year, then a 1%, you add all that up, that comes out to be seller concessions 2.208. To not split hairs, if you're like a real estate agent, you might go, hey, this conventional deal, we know with conventional deals when you're putting down less than 10% on a primary, I believe the max seller concessions is 3%. So, you could just start off there, just asking for 3%, working your way down. And just know that, again, some people they know they're sold on the refinance down the road. They've kept up with all the headlines. Most headlines agree that, hey, rates are going to drop, rate inflation is going to drop. and election period rates are going to drop, whatever the reason is. People are kind of, again, they're buying houses now knowing that there will be a refinance down the road, and they're making a long-term investment. And maybe even just this 1.0 buy down has been very attractive lately, where I mean, you only have to ask the scenarios at less than $1,700 from the seller, just to say your payments $140 less, to go from, to go, hey, would a 1239 payment a month, would that be attractive to you? Not be Might be enough just to cause a buyer to obviously want to move forward, knowing that you may refinance down the road. So yeah, I hope this helps. And let's look at some other options. So let's just say, I probably should have used, cleaner numbers here, but let's just say 225 times zero point 0.8. Let's say a typical 20% down now. Okay. We'll just go ahead and math here. So, oh, that was 18,000. So you can see how that costs less now. There's less money being lent out, which means their monthly payment goes down, meaning that differential goes down. Now, vice versa, the loan amount goes up, the buy down becomes more costly. The lower the loan amount becomes more costly. So let's look at something like this. Let's look at maybe a purchase price of, let's say, 400,000. And then let's look at maybe like maybe like a 380 loan amount. So there it is. Okay, got it. Now you can tell that the monthly savings are significant. I mean, the higher the loan amount, like the more significant the rate has an impact. So, especially if you're working with lower, like it's a lower purchase price, and people are beating you up over 0.5% here and there. It's like, end of the day, especially the lower the loan amount, the more they're putting down, the more they're kind of splitting hairs on some things. To be honest, when all that interest they're going to pay is tax deductible, especially if they're cutting out rent, they're building equity and things like that. We got to look at both sides of the equation and go, look, you're still better off buying, end of the day, than renting. But, let's just say that rates shoot up 1%. We'll go 7.5%. And you can see how on the 1.0 buy down, that's at 0.733. It doesn't go up anything crazy, though, actually. Not as much as I thought. So that note rate goes from 2657 to 2401. So still nothing crazy, the differential there. But yeah, I hope this helps. I can actually send you a copy of this calculator if you're interested in just kind of ever plug in some preliminary numbers. Just know that, this is for educational purposes. When we get into final loan underwriting and things like that, that will always be, the final breakdown of what this costs. But, as far as like just preliminary numbers and educational purposes, this is a very good, just kind of baseline to start at, as far as just kind of breaking down the mechanics of all this. I hope this helps. Always reach out to me anytime, 678-920-2747, or my website, mortgagemario.com. Tagline is, it's a me, mortgagemario.com.